gathered friends, listen again to the legend of the Bionicle. During time, LEGO was in a financial struggle, but then they came up with an in-house series featuring an epic storyline to accompany their distinct sets. Bionicle was unquestionably a huge hit, and as such, they made 4 direct-to-video CG movies in the 10 years of its initial run. TFC already covered the first of them, Mask of Light, and while he felt it had aged, he still enjoyed revisiting a childhood favorite of his, and he felt that writing the review was just as fun. And so he was excited to revisit the prequel sequel. And revisit it he did.
Hello everyone, I'm Transformers-Fan328 here, and it's not about what you do differently, it's about what you do well. Let's not waste any time and dive right into Bionicle 2, Legends of Metru Nui, and see how well it holds up.
The introduction is similar to the last one, but it's much shorter and instead talks about Toa that fell to the Makuta shells as he plans to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course! Of course!
We then see one of these Toa groping the orb from Guardians of the Galaxy as his search is interrupted by 2 of the major villains of the film, Kreka and Nidiki. He escapes them and starts delivering the stones he collected to select Matoran across all of Metru Nui. Good thing your mask is the only one not reused from the last film, or else I'd have no idea who to give this to.
Don't archive it.
I know it's tempting, but if you do, you'll get the bad ending. Toa Khan manages to deliver the stones to the selected Matoran, but Nidiki and Kreka catch up with him. They use Matoran Vakama as leverage to capture Khan, but he manages to save Vakama just in time.
It's all my fault.
You do know that you couldn't have done anything about that, right? Not only are you incapable of harming the Dark Hunters, but they could just as easily have used another Matoran for the exact same purpose.
What makes your presence so important to Khan's demise?
We then meet Turaga Duma, who seems to be the only Turaga of Metru Nui.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Who is checking on Vakama's progress in making the Mask of Time. As we saw, he's not getting very far. Vakama then departs for this great temple place, where he meets up with the other Matoran who were given these stones. Nokama, Matau, Nuju, Wenua, and Onewa, who I'm choosing to pronounce as such to distinguish him from the Onua from the last film. They place their stones in the center and activate Khan's Oz mode.
Do not arouse the wrath of the great and powerful Oz. I said come back tomorrow.
This turns our Matoran into new Toa, and with Onewa's weapon only vaguely looking like the toys' weapons, this provides me an ample opportunity to take back my previous criticism that the character models don't look like the toys. Sure, there are some cases where the liberties are too much, but not only do most of them actually resemble the toys upon closer inspection, but the stylization actually highlights their more organic nature. It's been noted in the mythos that the characters of the Bionicle universe have a degree of biology to them, making them more cyborgs than robots, which the toys convey so rarely that I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking they were just another toy robot line. I don't get how the masks can be expressive enough to convey eyebrow motion, but it still helps to make them more lifelike, thus convincing me of the illusion of animation, which is really all I'm asking for. And Wenua becomes a Shovel Knight.
Which reminds me, I gotta get that game at some point.
Maskmaker, you saw Toa Khan last, right?
What did he say we could expect?
He told me to stop the darkness, that I had to save the heart of Metru Nui. Then the Dark Hunters took him away. It was because of me.
No, it wasn't! That could have happened with any of the others. Stop beating yourself up over it! After Vakama has a vision of events later in the movie, the Toa decide to locate the Great Kanoka discs that are hidden in the 6 areas of the island to prove to Turaga Duma that they're worthy of being called Toa.
This looks like a job for a montage.
Show a lot of things happening at once, remind everyone of what's going on. And with every shot, show a little improvement. To show it raw would take too long. That's called a montage. Girl, we want a montage.
Duma informs the crowds from the last movie that Khan is dead, but they'll be safe under the army of insect-like monsters he has. And no one bats a masked eyebrow at this?
I feel like there's a fitting political metaphor in here, but that would imply I keep up with politics. And I need to really stop with the self-deprecation, too.
We present you with the great Kanoka discs and pledge ourselves as the new guardians of Metru Nui.
Toa must prove themselves with deeds, not simple gifts.
He has a point, but in this context, it was said earlier in the movie that these Kanoka discs could only be obtained by Toa, implying that the challenges are too perilous for a Matoran to handle.
I use the finest quality available, Turaga. Only great discs are more pure, but they can only be retrieved by a Toa.
To say that's not a Toa-worthy deed is like saying that winning a war isn't good enough for your country. So they decide that the Toa shall prove themselves worthy if they overcome an oversized pin art toy. As you'd expect, the Toa get their asses kicked by rising pillars. This is so disastrous a display that Duma proposes the idea that they're imposters, effectively making our heroes criminals to the world at large, just because they couldn't run over a rising floor. I guess it's not really clear what they were supposed to accomplish with that. It's a waste of a plot point anyway, since they never run into civilization for the rest of the movie, but whatever. As they end up separated and manage to escape, Duma meets up with an old friend of ours.
The mask of time is not yet completed.
But when the great shadow falls, the Vaki will ensure every Matoran's fate.
After Vakama, Matau, and Nokama are forced to get out of the water pipe, I guess, Vakama notices Likan's spirit star, indicating that he must still be alive, and they follow it. Vakama angst some more before the Dark Hunters catch up to them. They avoid conflict by virtue of rhino machines in the mood to recreate the Lion King, and Nokama unlocks her mask power to communicate with the chief so they can get a move on.
Vaki. Hundreds of them.
That must be where Toa Likan is.
I love it when heroes try to be stealthy when they have a giant tagging along. It's a rather amusing visual.
Oh yeah, all that was, rather awkwardly, intercut with the other group of Toa trapped in the drainage system being taught by this mysterious Turaga how to unlock their mask powers. And now we see Onewa's mind control powers and Nuju's telekinesis, both of which are used a grand total of one other time throughout the rest of the film. Back with the other group, Nokama and Matau lure out the Vaki guarding the location they need to get to, resulting in this supposedly advanced army being outwitted like Wile E. Coyote. Matau runs into the Dark Hunters, where he uses his mask powers to turn into Nidiki in order to confuse Kreka, then into Kreka to confuse Nidiki. And neither one of them could notice the green glow on the other's face, or the obvious imitation in their voice, or even the obviously distinct dialect, the latter of which can't be hand-waved by perspective.
At this point, these guys are on par with Scratch and Grounder.
I got him! I thought you had him!
I thought you had him!
Toa Likan will be forever in your debt.
So indebted to you that you'll end up sharing the same set. And here's the big plot twist of the film. Turaga Duma was really the Makuta in disguise!
I know! Wait, what?
Wasn't he talking with Makuta earlier, implying that they were separate entities? How did he do that? That wasn't exactly a mirror shows the true self scenario. For that matter, how does Duma's mask conceal a mask that big? At least with the way they're rendered.
Compared to the last movie, this twist wasn't well thought out.
Oh, and Wenua's mask power is an overblown flashlight. At least he'll never have to worry about batteries ever again. That's when the two groups of Toa reunite and find that the Turaga is in fact Likan.
Why didn't you tell us who you were?
Your task was to discover who you are. Only with such knowledge would your powers reveal themselves.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why would hiding your identity, leaving that question at the back of their minds for so long, help them find their identities? I suppose it's a don't be me, be you type situation, and I admit it's more obvious that this is a self-discovery arc than the last film, but it still comes off as pointless.
You are so misguided.
Whatever, Vakama uncovers the real Duma, which also raises the question of how Makuta got Duma's mask in the first place if it's still on Duma, unless everyone in the Bionicle universe just has spare masks lying around, and asking a mask maker would raise suspicions, and they escape the oncoming Vaki storm. The false Duma starts gathering the Matoran en masse, where the Matoran are finally starting to get a tad suspicious but go along with it anyway since they have no control over it, and our heroes arrive just too late to save them.
The shadow has arrived.
Nothing like Lil Narm to remind us that we're watching a direct-to-video CG kids movie based on a toy franchise.
The shadow has arrived. Now we can get this party started. Nivok, cue the music. I get up and if I make a scene, step it out on my hot pink limousine.
Also, could you not mug like that anymore, Makuta? It's very uncomfortable. Makuta then reveals his plan to brainwash the Matoran into believing that he is their leader. Well, the twist kinda came out of nowhere. The plan is rather diabolical. At least more so than just standing guard in front of Mononui's bedroom. How the Mask of Time fits into all this, I have no clue.
Maybe he just wants to further prove his greatness to the Matoran by tapping into his inner Hamura Kemi.
And one more thing. I think Makuta's head on a small body like that just looks kinda silly. He won't remain that way for long though, as while the Toa tried to save as many Matoran as they can, Makuta takes Kreka, Nidiki, and Nivok to form some kick-ass looking monster, I'm sure. As Vakama gets a vision of a potential trailer for the movie while he's making the Mask of Time,
which isn't needed to defeat him, so you're just helping the villain's goals.
they witness Makuta's incredible Mask of Light model with some wings slapped on. I understand the animation isn't cheap, but come on! At least that model is intimidating on its own, and the lighting does allow us to notice its details better. Like how he has Dinobot's hands. As Vakama is sent to the platform Makuta is standing on, he offers Vakama the chance to join him. He refuses, and we see what the Mask of Time can do! So it's not even a time-stopping power. It's just the red gem from Sonic 06! I still don't see how this fits into his plans.
What, does the Makuta just need to shatter world records?
So Likan takes the attack that Vakama couldn't dodge because I guess the mask can't work while its wearer is in motion.
You know, the more I think about it, the Mask of Time just sucks.
And the mask gets flown off. Makuta flies for it and we see that Likan is dying. Even though Makuta just grabbed his shield.
I get the feeling that lame deaths are going to be common in the next two movies.
Likan then hands Vakama his mask, and Vakama discovers his mask power.
My mask power!
I'm a ghost! Ah!
Vakama knocks the Mask of Time out of Makuta's hands, and he laments about losing it. Even though he could just fly down there and grab it. I suppose he didn't want to get wet. And for that matter, the Mask of Time was a complete waste, wasn't it? Not only did it only come into play at the very end, but it did f*** all even then.
Most useless MacGuffin ever.
Oh, and did I mention Makuta says his lines rather slowly in this film?
Without the Mask of Time, it will take a lifetime's journey to find both our destinies. Only yours will be brief.
He's almost as bad as the Smurf-lipped guy from Dungeons & Dragons.
Do not let them escape, or you will suffer a fate far worse than that which hath been inflicted upon me.
The battle then plays out like so. Vakama turns invisible, lures Makuta to the rock he's hiding around, and Makuta yanks the rock into himself. Repeat. Wait a minute, this is just a video game boss version of hide and seek. We've gone from epic sports battles to children's playground games.
Why do I get the feeling the next climax is going to be a staring contest?
Show yourself. I'm getting really sick of this shit.
It's official. You suck.
If Toa Likan could not defeat me alone, how could you?
Because he's not alone.
Oh, bullshit! He did all that by himself while you guys were gathering the Lost Matoran. Likan contributed more than you did.
Let's wrap this up.
Makuta tastes the rainbow motherfucker, which freezes him in place until he shows up in Mask of Light, where an off-screen battle with an off-screen character makes him lose his wings. An entire movie happens in the span of a transition, and the Matoran are saved and brought to the island of Motunui, where freeing them causes the Toa to become Turaga, which apparently have walking sticks as part of their biology. And a random Matoran's mask is broken, prompting Vakama to replace it with Likan's mask, revealing the Matoran as Jala. I do have to admit, the ending is rather heartfelt.
But in case you couldn't tell, I don't think the movie as a whole stood the test of time very well.
When I last revisited this movie so many years ago, I got more invested in the story and characters than the last film, so I felt that it was the best out of all of them. Looking at it with a critical eye, however, does reveal its shortcomings that really hinder my enjoyment of the film. While the animation is much less reused, the voice acting is still up to par, and the characters are likable as we do see them develop naturally throughout the picture. The little nitpicks really start to add up into notable plot holes, the pacing is off at times, and the stupid moments are distractingly stupid. If you still like it, I understand, but even when I was younger, I didn't revisit this one nearly as often as Mask of Light, and I probably won't be anytime soon. It's not horrendous, but I'm disappointed to say that it's aged worse than I thought.
I'm Transformers Fanco 328, and since the next movie is best associated with the next holiday season, I figured I'd cover the next movie in my next review. Let's just hope it's better.
But effort alone is seldom enough.
This shouldn't be turning me on, but it kind of is.